Before we get to the content, to get a sense of who's here, if you could let us know the role you play at your agency, and also we want to get to know you and your goals. What brought you to this webinar, or what do you hope to gain through today's webinar? If you could share that in the chat, that would be great. Tell us a little bit about you. Oh, counselor and part-time teacher, thank you. Coordinator, mentor, staff. Oh, yeah, a lot of things are coming in. Administrative assistant, principal, teachers. Wonderful. Great to have different type of roles here. Great. Thank you. Yeah, and please feel free to, keep adding, what brought you here and what your goals are. Thank you, Diana, for joining us. All right. Great. All right. So let me get started today. Here's the agenda for today. We'll go over the general adult education credentialing process, and we discuss the challenges, and then share the key features of the credentialing program available through the Santa Clara Unified School District. And we'll go over the subject areas, the process, the coursework, and we'll share the next steps for those who are interested in learning more about the program. And then we switch gears to discuss CalPro's new community of practice and training of trainers on fundamentals of adult education instruction. So that's what we have for our plan today. And by the end of this session, these are the objectives. Participants will be able to identify the necessary steps to adult education credentialing and identify at least one evidence-based instructional strategy in adult education. And then we'll tell you a little bit about professional learning opportunities and resources through CalPro. Okay, now without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Christine. Take it away, Christine.
Thank you, Sachiko and Adria, for your support and for the introductions. I just want to say how excited I am to be sharing this with our adult education community in California. I'm hoping to be able to answer some questions and be able to bring down confusion and really share the nitty-gritty of what's involved in this process. So I'm so thrilled to see all of you. Next slide. So where I want to kind of start a little bit is just to do a quick overview of the different programs that are offered in adult education. We have adult basic and secondary, which is our high school and high school equivalency programs and our basic ed programs. We have ESL, we have citizenship preparation, K-12 success, which is parents working with their children to help them be successful in school. We have career technical education programs, and we have programs that provide services for adults with disabilities. And there are credentialing opportunities available in all of these programs. Next. Okay, this is kind of an overview, sort of a macro look at the process. And there really are three steps that we're looking at here. The first is that the CTC will issue a preliminary credential, which is going to be based on transcripts and work experience. So the preliminary credential is issued first. Then over the next 3 years, which is the time available between the preliminary and clearing your credential, there are some responsibilities that you would have. There are 4 or 5 adult education courses. I think the final on that is there are 4 adult education courses that you'll need to complete over that time period. And you will also need to have employment as a teacher with a participating school district for at least 4 semesters. So we'll talk about participating school districts in a little bit, but and then the last requirements are that you need to have a CPR. You'll need to take a health unit and also either qualify for the U.S. Constitution requirement by an exam or by providing your transcripts that shows that you included that you have a course in that area. And then the third step is that when all of those are completed, the CTC will offer you a clear credential. And again, I want to just reiterate the timeline for this is 3 years. Once your preliminary credential is issued, you have 3 years to complete these activities and request a clear credential. Okay, next. Okay. So sort of going into this, those of you that have been in adult education a long time know that we often have challenges with hiring qualified staff. And that often is most obvious in our ELL programs, but it also can be difficult to find people to work in our high school diploma programs. Sometimes it's difficult to find people who can work in our adults with disabilities program. So the purpose in designing this, one of the purposes in designing the program was to enable us to be able to have a wider array of candidates to hire. Really very, very much the basic issue that we often face, which is finding enough qualified candidates to be able to hire to serve our communities. And then the other challenge, I think, in the field has been that the steps to earn the credential, both the preliminary and the career credential, are somewhat unclear. That's also a piece, you know, certainly the sharing the information about what's involved with the adult education credential in general is important. Challenges for the teacher candidates include the cost of the coursework to clear the credential. There are 4 other programs in addition to our school district that is offering credentialing services, and those do have some costs. Each of them is about between $3,000 and $4,000, I think, to complete the coursework for those agencies. And that often becomes the barrier that teacher candidates face in trying to get their credentials is that they then need to have to pay those fees for the courses. So we wanted to address that issue. And then again, from the candidate's point of view, it's often the case that the credentialing process is difficult and challenging and can be confusing. Next slide. Okay. So in order to address those areas, Santa Clara Unified School District, in collaboration with the South Bay Consortium for Adult Education, which is the consortium that serves our area, we worked with Evergreen College to develop a non-credit courses that are a pathway that come together as a pathway for clearing the adult education credential. There are 4 courses that are involved, and we'll take a look at the titles later, but they generally are adult education foundations and fundamentals. They are adult education curriculum and instruction. They also include professionalism in adult education, and then there's a final portfolio course. But those are all non-credit free courses for the state, actually. If you would like to have credit for it, there are processes for that too. And then the other plan was to design clear information sessions like this one for teacher candidates as well as district and school administration to basically share the adult education process so that we kind of bring down a lot of that confusion on the part of our community, our community. If you could do the next one. Okay. So now we're talking about the preliminary credential. And for those of you that have asked about the steps to go through the credential, we'll go over those in just a minute. But I want to highlight the academic subjects that can be placed on an adult education credential. And these are the biggies. Those first two are really the biggies. People want to be able to have English as a second language on their credential, and be able to teach in our high school equivalency and our high school diploma programs, and that's what the ESBS will allow. The other, so again, the English as a second language subject area, and then the elementary and secondary skills. We also call this basic skills, which will allow a teacher to teach in a high school equivalency or high school diploma lab setting. There are also non-academic subjects that can be placed on the teaching credential. If you remember, I had mentioned that the adults with disabilities programs we have can have credentialed teachers. Some of those are art, family education, family literacy, health and safety, and again, those tend to fall into services for adults with disabilities, and also parent education, and the K-12 success programs. And then there are non-academic CTE subjects, and so you can see those are listed there. As we are talking about this, I really want to make an important point, which is that there is an adult education credential, which is what we're talking about, and there are CTE subjects that can be added to the adult education credential. Those are going to be based on work experience, and potentially certificates and other training programs that a teacher candidate has completed. So then specifically that is an adult education teaching credential with a CTE subject area identified. Separately, there are CTE credentials. And the difference is that the CTE credentials will allow you to teach youth, will allow you to teach minors. So if you have what we used to call the ROPs, a regional occupational program in your area, the CTE credential will allow you to teach both those populations, and then adults as well. But again, there are two different kinds of credentials, and we at Santa Clara Unified School District are only offering the adult education credential. There are other sources for the CTE credential in the state. Next. Okay. And so what comes up very often is how to have English as a second language added to as a subject area on the adult education credential. And so this is really important information. At one time, you could have a bachelor's degree and get an ESL subject area on your credential. That has changed. It's very important to recognize that has changed. And so a credential holder must possess a bachelor's degree or higher completed at a regionally accredited college or university, and that to include a degree major, certificate, or completion of 20 semester undergraduate units or 10 upper division semester units in one of the following combinations. And then you can see that the TESOL, TESOL, second language acquisition, learning a language other than English, courses in linguistics, and courses in bilingual, bicultural studies. Those are the kinds of courses that would make you eligible to be issued a preliminary credential. I want to also mention that sometimes people will say, well, I have some undergraduate work and I have some graduate work in these areas. Those areas cannot be combined. It's either, not or. So either the undergraduate semester units or the graduate semester units. We can't put those two groups together. And this often trips people up. So this is where you'd want to be very careful with your transcripts. If this is a credential that you're interested in, you want to look at your transcripts, all of your transcripts very carefully. Next slide. Okay, this is the elementary and secondary skills, also basic skills. This is the coursework that will allow you to teach math, reading, and working in individual high school learning lab, which is where I mentioned the high school equivalency, often high school diplomas, GED, as well as citizenship. Having an ESVS credential will also enable you to have citizenship. And for that, those credentials, a credential holder must possess a bachelor's degree or higher, completed at a regionally accredited college or university, and have completion of 20 semester units with at least 3 units in 4 of the following 6 areas. It's almost the case that anybody with a bachelor's degree, because everyone had to do general ed, meets this qualification. So this one is a much easier a much easier credential to be issued because so many of us have that bachelor's degree. So often people are not necessarily eligible for the ESL credential, but they often are eligible for this. Next slide. Okay. These are the requirements for the non-academic subjects. As I mentioned, they are art, health and safety, and then this is also applies to the CTE subjects. You need to have a minimum of 3 years of experience in the subject area. So that experience may be paid or unpaid. No more than 1 year of experience shall apply towards meeting designated subjects' credential requirements during any 12 calendar month period. Okay, so what this means, and so then it talks about 1,000 clock hours. So each of the 3 years would need to be at least documented more than 1,000 or more hours. So we often have people that will have worked in an adult with disabilities program for part-time for like 900 hours in the year. That's not going to be eligible. So they have to have at least 1,000 clock hours in that area to be able to earn a year of experience to use towards the preliminary credential. Okay, there's a little bit more flexibility with the CTE subjects. An advanced industry certificate may be accepted for 1 year of the 3 years of experience required. And then for the CTE subjects, completion of undergraduate in post-secondary area related to the industry sector named on the credential may be substituted for a maximum of 2 of the 3 years of required course experience. So that gives you an idea of how you can be eligible for those areas. At the end of this session, we'll give you an opportunity to be able to sign up for an information session with Santa Clara Unified School District. And so we will go much further into the details on that at those sessions. Next slide. Okay. So these are the steps in the preliminary credential process, and it starts with you as a teacher candidate. You want to review the requirements that are listed on the appendix. Can we take a quick look? Great. Okay, so this is the web page on the California the Commission on Teacher Credentialing website that talks about adult education credentialing. Okay, and this is kind of what I use as my basis for the information that I share with you. But this is where you can see the appendix that shows again the same areas that I had just talked about. If you could scroll down, great. And here we have the academic subjects that may be listed on a credential. But what's really important is to consider how your transcripts or your work experience aligns with these requirements for the preliminary credential. Okay, it's very important to be able to see. Okay, well, I have this, I have that, and be able to identify those, because we will not be able to submit you without the verification of those transcripts and that coursework. Okay, is there any Sachiko, are there questions, like, are they big questions that I should answer so far?
There are some individual, situation questions, but I know like you we'll
Yeah,
be addressing that in the info session.
great.
But
Yeah.
one question is about
Yeah.
non-credit. Why are the courses non-credit?
The credits are non-credit to make them free. You do have the option to have them for credit. And that's going to be, that'll mean that you do pay the requirement, the credit cost per unit, per credit, I'm sorry, which is, I think, about $46 at this point. And you can challenge it. So at the end, you could get the exam. Um, in my experience, I have gone through this program some years ago, quite some years ago. Um, my understanding is that and they were credit classes, they didn't transfer at that time to anything in particular, but you certainly can have the credit. There's a process for that through Evergreen. They're offering the coursework and they can help you. But the whole purpose of doing it as non-credit was because in California and community college, those courses are free. So
Thank you. And then for the 3 years of work experience, how far back can it?
has to be, oh, okay. So there's some details the website that I had just showed you has those details, and we'll go over those much more closely at an information session in the future. Because there are some specific. 1 year needs to be within the last, I believe, 5 years. So there are some specifics, and again, that website, that CTC website for adult education makes that clear, reviews that. So after starting the process and getting really familiar with that website, the next step is to find a program sponsor to assist you in preparing to apply for the credential. There are 5 programs in California that currently offer them. And I used to have a slide here. I don't think it's here anymore about which ones they were, but I believe they are. I know that they are San Diego County Office of Education, Los Angeles County Office of Education, San Bernardino, and there is another one, and it's not off I can't remember it right now. But we are the 5th, and the only one that's been added in the last couple of years. So the next step is to gather your official transcripts or work experience and submit them to the program sponsor. The program sponsor will review the documents and submit them to the CTC. And then CTC will issue your preliminary credential after we have submitted that. Let's see, do we have like major questions about this slide? I'm not going to be able to talk to people that might have 60 units here or 30 units there. We won't be able to address that. There's just too many people. But
Christine, one general
yep,
question, another
sure.
one that's a bit broader is just
Yep.
about who qualifies as a program sponsor, if you can address that.
So program sponsor is an entity that has been approved by the Commission on Teacher Credentialing to offer a credentialing program. So there are school districts like ours that before this, they were approved by CTC to be able to offer an induction program. So the CTC has program sponsors all across the state doing all of the different kinds of credentials there are. And there are, I'm sure, more than 100, probably 200 different sorts of credentials that you can apply for. But a program sponsor is an entity such as ours, Santa Clara Unified School District, that has applied for and been approved to be a program sponsor to offer a credentialing program, and in this case, the adult education program. Hopefully that answers that question. Others?
I think you've answered the more general type questions, so thanks,
Yeah.
Christine.
Sure, sure. Just to clarify, the county offices again are Los Angeles County Office of Education and San Diego County Office of Education. They both offer the adult education credential, and there are some costs involved with the coursework to complete the credential. So that's, but they are perfectly reasonable sources for assistance with getting your credential. So the coursework for clearing the credential for ours, now we're talking a little bit more about our school district and the way that we do it. They are courses that are involved in the adult education teacher training pathway. It's offered through Evergreen College. There are 4 courses that meet the requirements. And so she has an example of one. We will be sending the links out. You can get more information about what the course actually looks like. These are the official course outlines for those courses. And again, these are, we're starting them as non-credit, but you can get credit. And so I believe that's even, the lecture unit says 0 because it's been designed as a non-credit course, but you can request credit. And like I had mentioned, you already, you have the option to challenge it, I think take an exam and be able to earn the credit. So, okay. So those will be sent to you after this presentation as links. Next. Okay, so now we're talking about, we talked about the steps for the preliminary credential. Now these are the steps to do the clear credential. And we talked about this a little bit, but this is a bit of an expansion on that information. So you complete the coursework to clear the credential. And again, those are the 4 courses that were on the previous slide, or again, those courses that are offered to clear your credential through the other for the other resources, the other program sponsors, I should say. This is a unique requirement, this next one, for adult education. And this is really important. You need to be employed by an adult school if you're working with us that has an MOU with our school district. Right now, there are 30 school districts that have MOUs in process with us. We have been reaching out to the administrators throughout California and offering the program, and then letting them know that you have to contract with us to be able to refer candidates to us. Because the requirement to clear the credential is employment, which makes this very, very different from other programs. You have to be employed to teach at least one assignment in each of 4 semesters during the 3-year period. So let's say you have English as a second language as a subject area. You will need to be employed for at least 4 semesters at an adult school to be able to clear that credential. Again, this is a unique requirement. When we talk about field experience in adult education, we talk about employment. And then you do need to verify that the school district that you're working for has a partnership. And a lot of them also have partnerships with LA County or San Diego County Office of Education, and the other. So that's something to take a look at. Okay. There is a possibility for you to get English as a second language and ESBS on your credential. You do not need to teach an English as a second language class and a high school diploma class to clear the credential. You have at least one assignment in one of the areas that is listed on the credential in each of 4 semesters will qualify you for the clear credential. Okay? Okay. The next step for that, as I had mentioned earlier, to complete the CPR, the health unit, and the U.S. Constitution requirement. We will provide you with the health unit, and then the CPR can be accessed through the American Heart Association or the American Heart Association, or the other one, the Red Cross. So you can get the CPR through either one of those ones. We, as the program sponsor that you're working with, reviews those documents, and then we'll submit them to the CTC for you to get your clear credential. Once you have your clear credential, you don't have to do any continuing education, but you do need to pay renewal fees every 5 years. Okay. Sachiko, any big questions so far?
I see there's a question about, if you have clear teaching credential, I believe it's for K-12, can you teach in adult ed?
Yes, so this is a really, really good question. And so the devil is in the details. What you need to do is look yourself up on the CTC, read very carefully the description of what you are able to teach. Many, many multi-subject, single subject and multi-subject credentials allow you to teach programs for adults. It's in the tiny little print. So there is often on those descriptions, and it will say, and in classes primarily organized for adults. And that will allow you to teach that subject in adult education. You do need, typically that will make you eligible. Sometimes school districts have further requirements. Some adult schools require a single subject high school credential to be able to be employed. So that's something that would really be at the district level. Hopefully I answered that question. Other questions?
Christine, are the classes in person or online?
The classes are all online, synchronous. Okay, so they're offered synchronously. They're offered online. The first day of class is going to be September 6th of 2025. They're offered through Evergreen. I should tell you also, there are other programs that offer the coursework asynchronously. Our program is designed in sort of a cohort model so that people can be together. Again, they're Saturday mornings from like 9 to 1. They are open to anyone in California. We're reserving the spots for the people that we are able to issue preliminary credentials to. But it is a cohort model, and it is a synchronous online course. And I'm not sure that, yeah, anyway. So next steps for the would be, again, review that website, and it looks like the link for that is in the chat. Review the FAQs and submit the interest application. So there are two steps to get started. The first is going to be to review that website, review that appendix section, and then also you're going to want to go to this interest form. We have been, although it says May 5th, we have been enrolling people on an ongoing basis over a period of time. There are some questions there, but really, if you are interested in working with our school district, then you want to click there to complete the interest form. We're going to use that as a basis to do invitations for future information sessions. So right now we're scheduling them in the afternoon and in the evenings to accommodate different. So it's early evening, like a 5:30 to 6:30, and that's what the form looks like. But we do need to know if you're already working with the school district or not. Yeah. Okay, let's see. And then if you are a school district and you've checked with your leadership has not reached out to us, there's a form to be able to provide us with the information that we need to set up an MOU with you. So that there's a link there as well, if people are interested in that. And again, my understanding is that the links will be sent out with the recording. Okay. So, yeah, I won't be able to look at unofficial transcripts on a case-by-case basis until you have attended the information session. And I will go through all of the pieces that we need for that, but it's too difficult to evaluate transcripts that are sent in on a 1 and 2 basis. We just don't have this bandwidth or the capability to do that. But all of those things are included in the presentation.
Great. Christine, there's one question about the turnaround time to get the preliminary credential.
Yeah, it can be very fast. I've seen it be like 2 weeks. And I have someone who's been in the queue for quite some time. and has not been approved to move forward. I should tell you this process also includes fingerprinting. And if you've been fingerprinted for another entity that it's not going to qualify, you have to have a set of fingerprints that are specifically submitted to the CTC. And those forms will be shared with you at the information. And they also are available on the website. So.
Right. Yeah, thank you so much. If you're interested and have more questions, detailed questions, we encourage you to submit that survey or inquiry Google form. The link will be sent to you in a follow-up message. And also, I believe Adria put the link in the chat. All right. Thank you, Christine. Now we are going to move on to talk a little bit about fundamentals of adult education instruction, the new community of practice, or COP, that will be available in the 2025-26 academic year through CalPro. And CalPro develops a new COP topic each year, and this year we're focusing on evidence-based instructional strategies. And this COP explores the importance of, understanding adult learners' unique characteristics, goals, needs, and strengths in order to effectively design our instruction from an asset-based perspective, informed by data. So we dig deeper into using, formative assessment data and to plan differentiated instruction to meet measurable student learning outcomes. And starting in July, you can request this training for your teaching staff with 8 or more participants in your region. CalPro will send a trained facilitator to your site. And speaking of facilitators, if you have facilitation experience or interest, we have a Training of Trainers Institute coming up in June in Sacramento. So this is to train new facilitators or trainers for the CalPro COP. And I will be sharing more information about this later, so stay tuned. Let's start by reflecting on our own learning. Think of a positive experience you had recently learning something new. What made it a good experience? Think for a moment. Was the learning directly connected to your professional or personal goal? Did the learning meet your needs? Did you feel valued? Were you actively involved in the learning process? Did it have a collaborative aspect, perhaps? Or did it involve authentic real-life tasks? And was it level appropriate, or did it have an option for your level of expertise? Maybe you notice where I'm going with this. Yes, these are all aspects of the instructional strategies we'll be discussing in the COP. So in the new COP, we will be talking about a variety of topics, including the ones you see on the screen, like andragogy, asset-based approaches, data-informed instruction, backward design, and learner-centered instruction. I'd like to see, check your prior knowledge and familiarity with these concepts before we dig deeper into one of the concepts today. So you see the poll. This is anonymous. When you see, well, you will need to scroll down to see all 5 concepts. But if you could respond to the survey that just popped up on your screen. If you don't see the poll, you feel free to respond to those questions in the chat. So 1 means I've never heard of this concept. And 2 is, I have heard of this concept, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. And 3 is like, I'm familiar with this concept, but I'm not sure if I can implement it effectively just yet. And 4 is, I have implemented this concept in my class with varying degrees of success. And 5 is, I routinely incorporate this concept effectively in my classroom and could actually facilitate this training. So again, this is anonymous. I see lots of people responding. Wow, thank you. All right, we'll give a few more seconds here for you to complete. All right. I think more than half of the people responded, almost 60%. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll and move forward and share results. So it looks like, yeah, some people are new to andragogy, asset-based approaches. I see 4s and 5s though too. You're more familiar with data-informed instruction in general, backward design. Yes, great. Thank you so much. So I'm going to stop sharing the results. And yeah, so if you chose 1 through 4 for any of the concepts, or if you think the teachers at your school can benefit from this training, please consider hosting this training at your school next year by contacting CalPro. And if you chose 4 or 5 on any of these concepts, please consider becoming a trainer for CalPro. Again, we have a Training of Trainers Institute coming up in June. So I'll be talking about it a little bit more later. Now, one of the topics we cover in the COP is student-centered learning. So let's discuss this approach a little bit. As you might have found in the reflection earlier, adult learners find the learning process more meaningful when the topics are pertinent to their lives, needs, and interests, and when they actively participate in learning. Student learning is an educational approach that prioritizes the goals, preferences, and needs of students. And this method places learner responsibility and involvement at the forefront, contrasting with, somewhat traditional teaching that emphasizes instructor control and academic content coverage. It shifts the focus from the teacher to the students, and it emphasizes active participation, collaboration, and development of critical thinking skills. So let's take a moment to review the learner roles and teacher roles on the slide. So learners in student-centered learning, learners are active participants in their own learning and construct new knowledge and skills by building on current knowledge and skills, and understand expectations and self-assess their progress to develop learning strategies. And they work in collaboration with other learners and produce work that demonstrates authentic learning. And teachers recognize and accommodate different learning modalities, and they provide structure, they facilitate shared decision-making, and then help learners work through difficulties by asking more open-ended questions to help them arrive at solutions rather than telling them the answers. Okay, so these are the students and teacher roles in student-centered learning. So learners are more co-creators in the educational process, and instructors encourage discovery learning and peer learning, focusing on creating authentic real-life tasks that engage and motivate learners. All right, so knowing that, what are some examples of student-centered learning activities that you implement in your class? If you could share some ideas and examples here. Let's take a couple minutes here. Let's see, I need to catch up with all the chats. Oh, thank you for sharing. Some of you shared the good learning experience. Yeah, great. When I think of good, learning experience, I recently went back to a yoga class after 5 years, and I was nervous because I'm not as flexible or strong as before, but it was nice to, see the instructors share all the different poses you can do, options, and also I had like blocks and blankets to help me in my poses. So I thought of, teaching adult learners as well with differentiation and things like that. Any examples you want to share? Okay. When I taught ESL, I gave my students a template and had the write a sample multi-paged autobiographical book. Oh, wonderful. It sounds like a great project. Thank you. Group project, financial literacy. That's interesting. Yes, definitely. Very relevant. All right. Thank you so much for sharing some of your ideas. Oh, home-based food business classes based on student interest. Wonderful. Yeah, great way to bringing students' goals into your classrooms. Okay, here are some examples of student-centered learning. Active learning, for example, students work in groups to research and present solutions to local or workplace challenges. That could be one. Collaboration, students collaborate on a project to create a multimedia presentation about a historical event. Or personalized learning, students choose their own articles to read and create projects based on their interest. Students are part of the decision-making process here. And again, students' choice and voice, students choose a topic for a research project and decide how to present their findings, whether through a report, a video, or creating a model. So these are, some ideas that you can incorporate. All right. So, well, student-centered learning is one of the concepts we cover in the new Community of Practice, Fundamentals of Adult Education Instruction, and the COP aims to equip instructors with practical tools and strategies to implement evidence-based instruction in adult education. You can see the objectives here, and it will be available in 2025-26 school year. Please consider, again, hosting this COP at your site or for your consortium. And COPs are typically 6 weeks long, blended learning with some job-ended asynchronous online work via Moodle. And there are also 2 3-hour in-person sessions at your agency or at a consortium member site. But CalPro can help adjust the focus, modality, and duration or schedule according to your agency's and teachers' needs and availability. So contact us if you're interested. And yes. And I would also like to share the opportunity to become a CalPro trainer on this topic. We are currently accepting applications for the training of trainers. Thank you, Adria, for putting the link in the chat. If you are interested in facilitating COPs or workshops, please consider applying. It starts on June 9th in Moodle, and it goes through the month of June, but in-person sessions are on June 23rd and 24th. That's a Monday and Tuesday, last week of June in Sacramento at the CalPro office. So you can click on the link and find more about this COT. All right, any questions for any of the content we covered today? All right. Yeah, again, please feel free to contact me or calpro at air.org if you have any questions, and we'll be following up with follow-up email with all the links and resources that we shared today. All right, so before we go then, what is one thing you learned today? It's your exit ticket. What's one topic you'd like to review further? If you could post in the chat. That would be great. One thing you learned, one thing you'd like to learn more about or review further. And before you go, please do respond to this participant reaction survey evaluation. Please give us some feedback. How did it go? And I would like to also tell you about the next webinar. We are meeting again on May 21st on Wednesday at 1 p.m. To talk about embracing productive struggle in math. So please, if you're interested, if you teach math or are interested in teaching math, please join us. All right. Oh, wonderful. Yeah. All right. Please scan the QR code or get the link for the participant reaction survey. We really appreciate your feedback. We'll use the results to improve our next webinar. So please let us know. All right. Thank you so much again for joining us today. Here are some resource links. We'll be sharing that with you in the follow-up email. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.